be talking about the fear of driving. It's a very common fear for a lot of people, and the different therapeutic options that you have in treating it. Now, the first and probably the most popular option is traditional therapy, talk therapy, psychoanalysis, things of that nature. Now, the pros to using this type of therapy um, is that it's personal. You get to actually meet with someone, establish a bond with them. And there's also the addition of added accountability, meaning that when you're asked to do certain exercises or techniques or to practice working on your driving, sometimes knowing that you're going to be coming back the following week or later on that week, you have the accountability to that person, so you're more likely to actually follow through. Now, the cons to traditional therapy is firstly that it's expensive. Many therapists charge in excess of $120 an hour. Insurance very often doesn't cover therapy, unfortunately. So very, very quickly, it can become very expensive. Tying into that is that it can often take a very long time. Um, it's not unusual at all to hear of therapy taking months or sometimes even years. Something that also ties into the fear of driving is that you have to get to the therapist office in most cases. There are some therapists that do phone consultations and whatnot, but most often the therapist wants you to come to the office, and that's where your therapy is going to be most effective because you have that personal nature that we talked about earlier as part of the pros. So if you're very afraid of driving, or depending on where the therapist is located, just getting to their office can be an issue. Now, another very big one is the lack of specialization. It's not that difficult to find a therapist that has some experience in treating anxiety or even phobias, but the fear of driving is one that's very unique and it has to have a lot of specialized knowledge in order for it to be treated properly. And quite frankly, most therapists just don't have the experience in dealing with the fear of driving. Lastly, there's no guarantee that any of this is going to work. You could spend months in therapy and hundreds or thousands of dollars even and not be any better than you were when you started. Another one of the more popular routes to go down for the fear of driving is self-help programs. Now, the pros to this is that they're usually relatively inexpensive. There are some that run in the thousands of dollars, but most are in the $300 to $500 range, we'll say. Some are even less expensive than that. What's good about them is that you're allowed to work at your own pace. Everyone has different fears and different scenarios that they're afraid of, and they start at different points. So if you're okay driving in general, but you have a tough time driving over bridges, then you can start at one place. If you're very afraid to even drive down the street in front of your house, then you can start at that pace. They're also very fast. You can work on them several hours at once. You can work them in bits and pieces, and that's different than traditional therapy, where you're really only working with on your phobia or with the therapist during that hour a week or 2 hours a week or whatever your schedule is. With the self-help program, you can work on it whenever you'd like to. In some cases, self-help programs are also very specialized. There's some self-help programs that are specifically for the fear of driving, and those are going to be the most effective because you're not going to learn techniques or have to waste your time learning about things that really don't apply to driving. Or on the other side of the coin, you're not going to be asked to do or learn things that won't work when you're driving, and that could actually have a negative effect on your progress. They're also offered in different formats sometimes. Some people learn better visually, some people learn better by hearing things. So if you're a very auditory person, meaning that you're a better learner when you hear things, there's some self-help programs out there that actually have audio versions that you could listen to when you're in your car, which a lot of people find very comforting. You could listen to them in the gym or whatever the case may be. Also, some self-help programs offer guarantees, and I think that this is a really big bonus because if you find that the program isn't what you expected, isn't working well for you, isn't something that you're interested in many cases, or in some cases at least, you can send it back and get your money back, and that's a big difference between self-help programs and traditional therapy. With traditional therapy, um, I've very, very infrequently heard of any therapist offering a guarantee. So the money that you spend, not only is it time consuming and expensive, but once the money's gone, it's gone. cons with the self-help programs are really the opposite of traditional therapy. There's less accountability. It's up to you to do the exercises. You're not going to be checking in most cases with someone on a weekly basis or multiple times a week to make sure that you do the exercises. So it's something that you're going to have to manage on your own. And most people are okay at this because, the fear of driving is a fear that's very impactful and debilitating on their life. So they really have a high level of motivation to get over it. But at the end of the day, it is up to you to actually follow and do the program. And it's less individualized. Like I had said, like when you see a therapist, if your fear is only on bridges, then they can tailor the discussion to just the fear of bridges. Whereas with self-help programs, they really have to be a little more broad and encompass some of the more common fears. Now, one of the best self-help programs, in our opinion, for the fear of driving is called the Driving Fear Program. It's very, very focused. It's one of the pioneer programs for the fear of driving. Is the most respected and trusted that we've been able to find. They have a very high success rate. They're guaranteed if for any reason you don't like the program, don't feel it's working well for you, for any reason, it's just a simple click and you get your money back. So it's very important that when you do find a self-help program, whether it's the Driving Fear program or another one, that you get one that's geared specifically towards the fear of driving. Because like we had talked about, you don't want to be learning techniques that aren't going to be applicable to your fear. What's also really nice about the Driving Fear program is that they have available support. If you have a question about the program or you're having a rough time, you can always send an email or pick up the phone and actually talk to someone. So it's really the best of both worlds. You have the self-help program that you can go through at your own pace and realize all the benefits that we already talked about. But if you do need some accountability or you do need to talk to someone or that little extra push throughout the program, there is some support available. So you really get the best of both worlds between traditional therapy and a self-help program. Coupled with the fact that it's very inexpensive. I believe right now the cost of the program is $67, which considering the guarantee and the available support, that's actually phenomenally cheap. And they also have both audio and written versions. So you can get one or the other or both depending on how you choose to learn. And if you want to learn more about that program, their website is www.drivingfear.com. Now, something else that we occasionally hear of people doing for their fear of driving is taking extra driving instruction classes. Now, this is good for beginning drivers who may be unsure about their skills, but it really doesn't address the anxiety, which is typically what the problem is. It's usually not a lack of driving skill. It's a lack of confidence in that skill. It's really a fear of the anxiety that you feel when you're driving. And the instructors simply don't have the experience or the ability to help students that have a true fear of driving or a phobia. There's also no guarantee with these, and it's also very costly. So it isn't something that we would typically recommend for the fear of driving. So in conclusion, we feel that self-help programs offer the most focused and specialized therapy for the treatment of the fear of driving, also with guarantees of results. And all things considered, we feel that the Driving Fear program is the most respected and comprehensive system. It's very, very trusted in the driving anxiety field. They really lead the way in pioneering new therapies and strategies. So, we would recommend that you check out www.drivingfear.com. Good luck.